Adobe Premiere Pro is a really powerful all-in-one video editing application, and I want to show you exactly how to use it in this video from scratch. You could do this on a PC computer on Windows, and you could also use it on Mac computers. In this video, I'll show you everything from getting the latest version of Adobe Premiere Pro, starting and editing your first project using filters and transition, and I'll show you some advanced techniques working with music and audio, and finally exporting and saving your video file when you're done with your edit. I've been personally editing for over 15 years, and most of that has been with Adobe Premiere Pro, so hopefully I could share some editing tips here to speed up your editing as well. First, let me show you how to get the latest version of Adobe Premiere. They actually offer a completely free trial link, no watermark. You could download it, install it, and use it following this video. This always has the latest version because this is a software that you technically subscribe to. You could download it, you need it on your computer to edit, but you actually subscribe and always get the latest version this way. So in the description below, I do have a free trial link where it brings you to this page, and I'll just show you some of the paid options as well while we're here. They have two different plans. This plan is just for Adobe Premiere Pro, and you could pay monthly for this. Again, you always get the latest version this way. And there's this thing called Adobe Creative Cloud. Now, this is 20 plus different applications for desktop and mobile. So if you plan on using Photoshop, Lightroom, Illustrator, Adobe Premiere is included with this, Adobe Acrobat, all these come in one bundle subscription. That's what I have. But if you just want to use video editing, Adobe Premiere is all you need. But I use Photoshop and other apps as well, so I got this one. So this is something you also could do later. You could just start with a 7-day free trial if you don't have the latest version of Premiere. Here I have all my Adobe products, but I'm gonna launch Adobe Premiere from my applications folder. And this is Adobe Premiere once you launch it. Basically, you're gonna land over here either on the home or the learn window, but you wanna start here by creating a new project. I'll show you some of the things that this is telling you as we go through this video. Now, this is your new project window. So the first thing I like to do is name the project. So this is Adobe Premiere Tutorial. And then next, it's gonna ask for your project location. So let me explain this for a second. This is one of the best things I learned when I had a mentor teaching me how to edit. I'm gonna press the drop down and choose location. Here, I have an external hard drive that I have plugged in, and I have 4 different folders that I made in this primary folder. So I'm gonna choose this one. I recommend you also create a folder so everything is nice and organized. Project organization comes in really handy. So I'm gonna choose project file folder here. Just to give you an idea, these are the external hard drives I typically use. So this is a little bit faster than this one, but it's more expensive. Again, I'll give you some resources in the description, but with these, I basically put all my video files on here so they don't take up internal memory or storage of my computer because video files are large. So you want to use these external hard drives. Really a good workflow moving forward. So that's all I had to do so far. And I have to press create right down here. Now you're inside of Adobe Premiere Pro, but before we get started, let me show you how to actually reset your layout. So you're looking at exactly the same thing I'm looking at. It's gonna make it much easier to follow along. Go to Window, go to Workspace, and choose Default Editing. Default Editing is where I always get started. It's the least confusing of all the different layouts, and I'll show you exactly how to take it from here step by step. There's basically 4 windows over here, and I'll mention them as we go through rather than right now. It comes in more useful when you know what each of them does with video files. So what I want to do first is use this panel here, import media to start. So to do that, I just have to double click over here. Now I'm under the project files because I saved it there, but if I go a level deeper to my Adobe Premiere Tutorial, I have footage. So I have video files. These are video files. I have music, which I want to bring as well, and I have pictures. So right now, let me just bring in one clip to show you. So you could import a clip like that, and there is a clip. If I double click again, I could bring in more, or I could bring in entire folders. So if I wanted to bring the entire footage folder, I could bring it that way, and it's nice and organized. So I'm gonna delete this one because it's already inside of this folder, nice and organized, and you could change how it looks here with the slider if you want a bigger preview of these icons. Another way you could actually import media is you could actually grab these folders. So I'll use the music folder and I'll drag it over here, and you could do this with pictures and video files as well. And again, everything is nice and organized over here into folders. And now I could actually start my edit once I have everything inside of here in the importing process. Now, just to give you an idea where I got everything that I'm using for this video project, this platform is called Envato Elements. Basically, they have everything from stock video. So here I looked for some travel clips, and they have thousands, in fact, over 600,000 travel clips. They also have photos, so I got my stock photos from here, and they have royalty-free music. And it's important that you get royalty-free music. These don't have copyright issues. You're licensing it. So if you plan on using these videos on YouTube, for example, you may get into copyright issues if you don't license from a platform like this. Now, there are other ones out there, but this one has all of them in one place. So you don't have to get your music, your stock video, and your photos from 3 different places. This is all in one. And I have a 7-day free trial link to this as well in the description below this video. So you could download and follow along if you don't have things to work with. And you could also use what you shot with your own video cameras or on your phone, drop it to your computer. And I used an SD card here to record with my camera. So I'm going to use a clip. I'll show you that as well. Our next step in the process is assembly. Assembly basically means the start of your edit, and then you could fine tune your edit. So what I need to do here is I look at all these clips I brought in. I brought about 5 different clips. I'll double click them. And now I could actually show you what you're looking at with the overview of Adobe. Here was your project panel, right? So your project and everything you added is here. But on top, this is your preview window. Preview window is when I double click something and something appears here, and I could press spacebar and actually preview it. Now I have my computer on mute and some of these clips don't have any sound, so that's why you won't hear anything. But the spacebar or play option right here will let you preview. Now, 2 keyboard shortcuts I want to show you here that come in really, really handy. I won't show you too many keyboard shortcuts, but this one, basically I want to decide where do I want to start this clip for my edit and where do I want to end it. Okay, so I could come over here. Let's say I want to start here. I could press the keyboard shortcut I, it's just on your keyboard, and then I'll go over here and press O. So I stands for in point and O stands for out point. So it selects basically an in point and out point. Now I could grab it and bring it down here and drop it here. Now this creates what's called a timeline. Now this timeline is where your edited project is. So if you look on the right side, this was your preview of individual clips, but on the right side is your actual edited video. So to preview that, you could go over here on your timeline and press play up here, and it's gonna show you your selection, okay? What I do typically is I select every clip here in order, then I just kind of scrub through. This is just me looking through it quickly. So this time again, I'm gonna put I here, go a little bit further, choose O, and then grab it and bring it next to this one. So this becomes my second clip. Again, if I wanna see my final edited video, that's on this side. So this is clip 1, this is clip 2, and then I'll do the same thing with clip 3. So again, I'll see what it's all about. Choose I, choose O, and then I'll bring it down here. So that's basic assembly. You want to tell the story in order of the clips that you have available to you and bring them down here. I want to show you one more clip that I did not bring in here. So over here, I'm going to go to this footage folder and I'm going to import one more clip from my footage. This is just a video I recently made. I'm going to press import on it. And I'm going to double click it. And this one actually has me talking. So these video files are just a video file. They don't have audio. This one does. So if I press I and then press O, I could grab them and bring it down here. And as you see, this one looks a little bit different, right? It has a video track. This is your video track 1. So V1 stands for video 1. And you have other video tracks, but you now have an A1. That's your audio track 1. If I was to press play, you could see this has this audio bar. Looks like I made a mistake there. So it starts here. This has this audio bar showing over here. Now, I purposely chose the in point and out point to be in an incorrect spot, right? So this should have actually started here, not where I pressed I and O. Because now you could actually trim your edit once everything is down here in your timeline. To do that, you could use what's called a cut tool right here, or the razor tool. The keyboard shortcut for it is C, and I could make a cut right over here. Now, if it doesn't snap, you saw mine just snap over here, is because your snapping is not on. So snap to timeline, basically allows you to make easier selections. So this is kind of free form. It's hard to find that exact point. But if you have snapping turned on, this magnet, it just goes where this blue line is. So you see that? It's letting me snap it right here. Now, I'm going to go back and choose the selection tool, this one. And now I could select this and press delete. So this is how you actually could start editing once your video files are inside of the timeline. Now this created this black area here. So the problem is if I just finished my edit right now, it's gonna go from this clip to a black section here and then back to me. That's not what I want. I want to close this. So I could grab this and just close the gap. Okay, so make sure you don't have those open gaps so it just doesn't show a black area if you make edits like I just made with the cut tool. Now you could also trim. So trim is if you wanted to change the length of this clip. So let's say I thought this was too long, even though I chose in and out points, I changed my mind. So I could actually grab the end, bring it in, that will cut the end out. And I could do it to a beginning too and cut the beginning out. Again, I have two black holes here, so I'll have to close these by grabbing these clips. Now you could do this with many clips as well. So if I trim this one and I want all these three to come and snap, I could grab it this way. So I'll select all three this way and bring it over. Another option you have is, let me go ahead and undo this. So up here under edit, you could undo your last move and up to 15 moves, I believe. You could also select this black area and hold down Option or Alt on your keyboard and press delete. And that's called a ripple delete. A ripple delete basically is just a faster way, so you don't have to drag everything and snap it to the previous. But you could do this manually as long as you're just learning and just dragging and dropping. You could also change the order of clips. So if I was to talk before this clip, I could grab this and bring it over here. Okay, and I'll bring this one over here and I'll grab these three and bring them back here. So changing the order of clips, really, really easy. You could do it exactly the way I just showed you. Now there's this thing called adding B-roll. So this comes in really handy if I'm talking over here and I want to show what I'm talking about and let the audio keep going underneath me. So to do that, you want to add something to video track layer number 2. So again, I'm going to select one of these clips here. So I'll put I for in point, I'll go over here, O for out point, and I'll put it this time on top of this track. So video track 1 is here, video track 2 is here. So what ends up happening is if I go here and press spacebar, I'm still talking in the background. You see the audio files are going and it's gonna just show this while I'm talking. So it becomes basically voiceover narration. This is a really great way to basically tell a story. And this is again another clip I got from Envato Elements. I did not create this myself. Now let's talk about adding images, because sometimes instead of a video file, I'm gonna click this video file and delete it. You could add an image. So I'll go back a folder over here. I'll collapse this and I'll open up the pictures folder, and this floating globe I'm gonna double click and I'm gonna grab and bring this one on top. And then this becomes the track that is on top. So it's me talking again, goes to that track. Now with images, you could select them, and up here you have something called effects control, and you could change the size with scaling. Okay, so if you want it to be bigger or smaller, let's say you wanted a picture-in-picture effect like this, I could shrink it, and then the position left and right lets you put it somewhere while you're talking about it this way. Okay, so this is another way to go about it if you don't want a full screen image on top of someone talking. Now let me show you how to work with music, because music is a great way to really take your editing to the next level. And I typically do it after I have my assembly and my editing of the project. I add music, then we'll talk about transitions and filters and things like that. But to add music, I have a music folder here. And again, just be careful with music. You want to use royalty-free audio tracks as long as you're using this for something that is being shown publicly, like on YouTube. And here I just used travel theme music. So travel tourism, for example, is what I searched. I played each one. I saw the one that really stood out for me over here. I think the third one in, and I just pressed download here. And I brought it here. I imported it from my hard drive, and I could drag it and drop it over here on audio track 2. Okay, so I don't want it to override, because if I have it up here, it's gonna override me talking. So it needs to be on audio track number 2. So I just did an undo here to bring that down. So now the only problem is with background music If this was foreground music, meaning this was the only sound in your video, it's okay exactly as is. But background music needs to be a far lower volume than the person talking. So in this case, if I basically press play, the audio from the music is dominating what I'm saying. I need to lower the volume. So to do that is right here, this line, you could grab it and bring it down. So typically -30, right here, you see -30 dB it says. That's basically, I know from experience, is a good volume, but it really depends from song to song. So you have to lower the volume around there, press play to see if it's background music now or if it's interfering with the person talking. Again, if you don't have anyone talking, don't worry about that. If it's like a music video or travel video, you don't need to do that. And to raise audio, so audio mixing, you could actually raise it this way. So you could go up. Now here's the problem. Let me just show you. I'll go way up. If I press play, you see how this is fully in red over here? That means this is gonna sound terrible. I have it on mute right now, but it's completely distorted. So I wanna make sure it falls somewhere between -12 and -6 for someone talking with or without background music. So that's basic audio editing. The only thing is with this music, you see how it's far too long, this green track? So I'll have to use the blade tool here again, or the razor tool, make a cut over here where my video ends so they line up. I'll choose the selection tool and delete the rest. Okay, so now my video and my audio are the same length, and I typically go over at the end and I'll press Control or Command on my keyboard and right click and apply default transition. If you're on a PC, you just right click and press Apply Default Transition, and it creates a nice fade out to your music. You could also do this to video too, and it'll create a nice fade to black at the end of your video files. Now, a few more things I want to show you here that you really like. One is transitions. So let me show you transitions. If you go over here, there's this thing called the effects panel. And inside of your effects panel, you have a bunch of different folders. Some are transitions like video transitions, this one. Some are video effects, those are filters. And you also have them for audio. And I have a whole bunch of other ones that I've bought from platforms like Envato and other places. But video transition, one of the most popular ones is this dissolve option. And you could open this folder, it's called cross dissolve. So if I add it over here, basically it will go from this clip and it will dissolve to me talking. So you saw how that worked. Let me delete this image actually. And before I added that, what happens is it's just a straight cut. So this is a cut when there's nothing happening between two clips. One clip just ends, another one starts. So sometimes this dissolve is actually a nice way. And there's a couple other ones I really like dip to black is nice. So one clip dips to black and it comes out from black. And there's a bunch of other ones that I recommend you explore. Some are a little bit cheesy, so I typically stay with dissolve and wipe and zoom options. But again, each folder will have some options inside of it. And you also have video effects. So under this folder, I could show you some effects. So for example, a lot of times I want to blur something, so I could just add this blur option. And every time you drop a filter, sometimes it doesn't look like it did anything. So you have to come up here to this panel called Effects Control. And Effect Control, I could raise the blurriness of this image, for example, if I wanted to do something like that. Maybe something that will go in the background, so you could do that anytime. You could select these and delete them from here. You also have image control. So this is a really easy one to show you. I could drag and drop this one, just turns everything into black and white. And again, this one does have some control, but by default, it already applied that effect. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this one here. And one of my favorite things inside of Adobe Premiere is the power of adding text very, very easily. So let's say this was my first shot in my video and I want to add text. There's a text tool right over here. There's a handful of tools, but the most important ones were the cut tool and the text tool that I use most commonly. Some of the other ones, we basically showed you how to do it manually. But with the text tool, just click over here on top and I'm going to type my text. And it's very, very small. So I'm gonna go ahead and select it all. And if you come under Effects Control, it's gonna create this text file. So open this up and you could change everything you see over here. So first I'm gonna change the font, something really nice and bold. And then I'm gonna change the font size. So I'm gonna drag this over here to make it nice and big like this. And then I need to change where it's at because it's going off the screen here. So I'll come up here and I could change basically the position. So I'll put it right over here and I'll click away. Let me go ahead and press play to see what that looks like. So maybe white is not quite working. So let me change the color as well. That's under fill here. So I could select fill this box, and then I could basically see what different colors look like. So it looks like kind of darker black is probably the easiest to read with this video. Okay, so very simple. And I could do some video transitions. So I'll go to video transitions. Let's do a dissolve. Let's do a cross dissolve from the beginning. I'll apply that to the beginning. So it's gonna fade right in. Very, very basic text. And text gets much more advanced than that. Let me just show you. If I go to Window, Workspace, there's a whole graphics panel. So if I go over here, you're gonna see some really, really advanced title animations. Now, a lot of these I got from Envato Elements. They don't come standard in Premiere Pro, and this is a much more advanced thing, but I'll just show you. If I grab one of these and drag it on top, these have very high-end animation to them. For example, they have lots of different pre-designed elements, and they're fully customizable under graphic panel. Something advanced I wanted to show you right now, I recommend you stick with basic text, but this gets really, really advanced once you learn how it all works. Now with any text file here too, I could go ahead and shrink it down to make sure it's only over this track. And then when it goes to me, there's no text on top. Again, I could stretch it out. Let's say I wanted this for my entire video, which in this video doesn't make sense. You could obviously do that too. So text works just like a video file or an image file. Now, finally, let me show you how to save and export your project out of Premiere Pro. So first, let's save it. Go to File and Save As. The reason why you want to do this is because it doesn't save by default. So you need to save it so you could come back to the progress you've made. It does have autosaves that show up in this autosave folder that gets created by default, but you always want to save your own version. So I'm going to name this version 2 and I'm going to save it. So anytime I open up Premiere or I go to that hard drive where I created this project, I could double click, come back exactly where I left off. Then I want to export. So to export, you go to File, and then you go all the way over here to Export and choose Media. Now, this is going to look crazy advanced, but I'll show you the basics, something that I've used for the last 10 years, and in the last 5 years, these are the settings that I use. You could name your file so you know exactly where it's at. So I'm gonna actually select this and name it Our Last Vacation. And location, again, I'm gonna select that. And remember the project folder that I created. Now I'm gonna make a new folder called Finished Files. So I know that this is a finished file. I'll press Save. And then this setting is basically all you need to know. Where are you going with this video file? Are you going to YouTube? Is this 1080p HD or is it 4K? Now I know this is 1080p HD in this case. Those are the selections I made, but a lot of times I make selections that are 4K, so I will choose this one. Typically, these are the two options you will choose in most cases. Unless you go into broadcast TV or something more advanced, YouTube 1080p if it's 1080p footage, or 4K if you shot the video in 4K and you know you did, that's the other option you choose. The format always stays on H.264. That's just been the compression format for the last 5 years. You don't need to know anything about that. All you need to know is name it, choose a location, choose a preset. Typically, one of these two YouTube ones has a really, really good quality. And you could ignore all these advanced other things that are underneath these folders. And press export over here on the very bottom of the page. Now, in most cases, it's gonna take a bit of time. In this case, this video file, if I go at the end, you see over here is 14 seconds long. 14 seconds and 2 frames. So it didn't take much time at all here on my Mac. Now I could go to my finished files folder here, and this is my MP4 video file. I'll press spacebar, and I could quickly just make sure it all looks good. And then I could just upload it, share it, do whatever I want from here. Now, if you want to take your editing to the next level, I'm putting together a complete training to show you everything I know about Adobe Premiere Pro and editing. So make sure you add your name to that list if you want to be notified. All the other resources are in the description below this video, and I hope you found this useful. Thanks so much for your time, and I'll see you next time.